Hello, artists. Welcome back. Last week we penciled in some features on our plate, and this week we are going to use a crayon and some paint supplies, so just a brush, a cup of water, and some paints to finish up our plate. We talked about the term monochromatic, mono meaning one and chromatic meaning color, and we're going to do our plate in a monochromatic way. So I chose blue crayon, and I'm going to stick with blue paint, but you may choose differently. Up to you. This is kind of a very traditional look for the Chinese pottery, and so I'm going to stick with this. So what I've been doing is just tracing over all of my pencil lines with a crayon. I added a little bit of water down here, so I'm just going to make my wavy lines. Some of my pencil lines were, whoops, what I just did again. Oh well. I tend to do that, pressing too hard. Some of my pencil lines were a little hard to trace with the crayon because the crayon is bigger than a pencil, but I'm just kind of doing the best I can here. I added a little shading with my crayon, and I think I'm ready to get to the paints. I definitely do want to leave some of the space white, but I'm now going to go in and kind of look at areas where I can add paint. And I'm going to experiment with adding paint that has less water and adding paint that's a little more watery to get different shades. So even though my paint set here has many blues, I'm going to demonstrate just using one of the blues. I think I'm going to pick this blue right here. So I'm just going to use one blue. Most of your paint sets, I think, just have one color of blue. But again, if you have a paint set that has more, go for it. So my first step is to get my brush wet. I don't really have to worry about cleaning my brush because I'm literally just dipping into one color. But I need to make the pan wet in order to get the color. So I'm just going to kind of work a little bit of water into this color of blue. And I think I'm going to start with my tree. So I'm just going to spread on, oh, I like the way that looks. I'm going to spread on this blue onto the trunk. And I kind of want the trunk to be a nice dark blue. So I'm going to just kind of layer it a few times. And then I'm going to go around and trace my branches and leaves. If I need more water, just going to dip in there for a little bit more. I have a brush that has a flat side, and so for the lines that are skinnier, I'm just going to kind of use the edge of it. And for the lines that are bigger, like the middle of the tree, I can use the flat side. You can just kind of experiment. Watercolor is really fun because you can just kind of go over it until you're happy with the way it looks. And again, I've done a lot of the work already with the pencil and the crayon, so now it's just kind of fun, just adding those different layers of blue. When we work monochromatically, we can really have fun with all the different tones and values of blue. And if I want to make a little more, maybe a few more kind of darker lines in the tree, I can do that. All right, I'm happy with that. Now for the water that I have going behind the tree, I want a really light wash of blue. So let's see, I'm gonna get some more water so it's just very kind of a watery watercolor. I'm just gonna, that's even a little more than I wanted, so I'm just gonna dip in the water alone without going back into the paint, because I kind of want this to be a lighter blue than the tree. And that worked out. Yeah, cool. All right, now I'm going to come up to my mountains And I want my mountains to be different colors, so I think I'm gonna go over the peaks of the mountains and make them a little bit darker. That was just an ant on my paper. And maybe this line here. And then I can just start filling in, and then I'll decide when I'm ready to dip back into my paint. But I definitely want it to have some of the darker paint and some of the lighter paint, because that just kind of gives it some dimension and makes it look interesting. Okay, I have an ant who keeps wanting to be on my paper. All right, there we go. I'm kind of happy with that. Maybe a little bit darker up here. Maybe I just want to kind of go over the peaks just to make them a little darker. All right. Now this area over here, my little island, is very small. So with the brush I'm using, I think I have a lot of pencil and crayon in my tree, so they're not gonna really hold a lot of paint, and that's okay. With my little mini fir trees here. And then I think I'll make the house just very light. Because I definitely want some white to be on the paper. I don't want to completely cover it with the blue paint. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'll work on the border now, so I'm just gonna put some more water. I added, maybe you can notice on my little fish, I added some little U shapes to be fins. I think I'll start painting in the fish. And I can also embellish the fins if I want. My ovals look a lot like fish too. And then just, whoops, finish up over here. I went out of the lines, and that's okay. Oh, and then I definitely want to put some blue paint in these little decorations that I made. And then I think for the ovals, I just want the very lightest blue. So I'm actually just going to put water on my brush, which already just has a tiny bit of blue pigment in it. And this is, I'm not even dipping in the paint, just dipping straight in the water. So it's a very watered down. And then I think I'm just going to step back and look at it for a second. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. If I wanted to do something different, I might just do some little dashed lines around this. I didn't do this with my pencil or crayon, so I'm just kind of improvising. I just wanted a little something else on the edge. Again, with my flat brush, this is a technique that works. If you have a brush that has a soft point, it won't work like this, but it will make a different type of line. But I just kind of wanted to add a little more decoration. Or you could just do that with a crayon. All right, I am feeling happy with it. I'm feeling like it's finished. So I'm gonna just set it to dry. Watercolors generally dry pretty quickly. And next week we can cut it out, maybe mount it on a different piece of paper to have it look like a finished plate. Great job, artists.